Hello, this video is going to discuss the new action create wizard. It's not that easy to create an action originally, as there was a better understanding of all the fields required. We definitely had to watch the video, and then of course parameters needed to be created on top of that. In order to alleviate all of that understanding and allow people to create actions more easily, a new wizard has been created. So if we start out at the list views start page and we go to the list views admin, from version 1.1.2.1.1.5, we should see a create action wizard as one of the tools available to us. So if we first go to the list view actions themselves and we take a quick look at one or two of them, what we'll notice is that they're all a little different, and they all require different checkboxes to be checked, etc. So we'll notice here that a hyperlink has a checkbox that requires that the hyperlink check be checked. And then also the Apex class name that is required is not always easily understood or identifiable. Here we have list view action PDF for save to PDF. We can even have custom actions. So we might have list view action ops close, which is an example action to allow people to better understand how to write them themselves. And then of course we've got the update, delete, flow, email, and then of course we have a null for, in those cases, unbeknownst to most people, where no Apex class is necessary because of things like wanting to just create a hyperlink. So there's a lot of knowledge that's required in order to be able to create actions, and we're trying to remove that. Over and above that, if I was to click on, say, the hyperlink, we'll notice as well that there are permissions that we can set, when the action should be displayed based on record visibility, whether it's part of a component name, there's all sorts of stuff, flow information, etc. And then if we go to the related list to show the action parameters, there can be parameters, which in this case there are. So we have a hyperlink which has a URL pointing to the view of the URL, or the view of the record, with a substitution here. And of course the substitution parameter also needs to be created. And so this can get a little confusing, and the idea is that this action removes, or this action create wizard removes some of that knowledge needing to be required. So if we go back to the admin and we click create action, it really is a little wizard with 4 pages. The first page is basic information about the action. The next page is going to be enhanced action details. So for each action, if the action requires specific information about that particular action, that information is going to be displayed in the enhanced action details. Then all of the accessibility information, the visibility, what if it's associated with a component, if it should only be displayed with an object, will be displayed on the 3rd page. And then the 4th page is really just a review and save. So we're going to be able to review the data we entered and click save. So to start out, it asks us if we're making a core or custom action. This, and one thing to notice here is that there are these little help things at the top which are very useful when you're first coming in and trying to understand how to do this. So hopefully this will aid. The core and custom actions dictate whether the action is for a core or a custom list view. The actions are specific to core or custom, and they need to be called out as such. So let's start out by just making this an action for a core list view. So now here is where we can start to choose the processing that's actually going to take place with this action. And what I'll do is I'll create a simple one using just a hyperlink as an example. Once you select hyperlink, it then asks you for further information. So let's just put in here hyperlink video test. And then finally, it's asking us if we are making this action immediately available. If we don't, it's going to set the flag to is active equals false, and then we're going to have to manually go and find the action in the list and set it to true. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to set the action available to immediately available. So I'm going to then click next. Now the hyperlink, as we said before, it has enhanced action parameters that can be set. So what we want to do here is we want to set the URL. So we could just set it to google.com, and then let's add a substitution in there just to understand how this works. Now that substitution, in the case of hyperlinks, that substitution name is a parameter, so we put that into the param1 name, and then the param1 field is the record that we select, the field on that particular record. So let's just put ID, and so what it's going to do is it's going to pick up the field with name ID, which happens to exist in every single list view, and then let's click next. So now we get up to the accessibility. So this is really asking us all about when it is visible, when it is displayed. Sometimes it's displayed based on user permissions. Sometimes it's displayed as well based on whether records are selected, whether it's associated with a particular object, etc., etc. That's where this page handles all of that. So is this action specific to an object? Let's say no, it's not. Is the action specific to a Lightning component? Let's say no, it's not. And what we want to say is this is displayed if one or more records are selected. Okay, and we're not going to worry about user permissions for now. We click next. It gives us just a brief overview of exactly what we are trying to do here. For the moment, the parameters that were entered do not display on this page, only the basic details and the accessibility. We then click Save, and the action was successfully created. So now if we go back to our list view actions, we'll see here that the hyperlink video test is now an action. It has been created. And if we go in, we'll see that there is a whole bunch of information that's been set that we really didn't need to know about before. For example, the Apex class name was set to list view action null. We didn't need to know that. The record type's been set. It checks that it's a hyperlink. And then another very nice thing is that the parameters are set. So if we go into related here, we'll see that the URL has been automatically set up with the correct API names, and the record ID, which is a parameter associated with that URL, has been set as well. So we didn't need to necessarily understand exactly how all these parameters worked. We just know that that the action theoretically should get set up correctly. So now, if we were to go to our examples, and we were to select a list view, we should see our action available to us. So here we can see we've gone to all contacts. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for the action here, and you're going to see that the action is not currently available. And the reason why is because we haven't selected a record. As you guys will remember, in order for the action to show, it's only displayed if one or more records are selected. So let us select a record, and now if we go back to select an action, you can see here hyperlink video test. Here is the action, And if I click on it, it'll probably break because Google is not going to understand exactly what's going on here. But you can see in the URL that it has substituted the ID as expected. So that's good. Everything has worked as expected. So that was our first action created using the action wizard. Let's go and have a look at another example. So if we create an action, let's make this core again. Now, most of these, when you select the particular type, there's no subtype included that we have to select from. But with managed data, this is the only one where it needs to recognize that not only do we set the type, but we also need to set the subtype. So you'll see the subtype field appears, and when we select it, it gives us a whole bunch of options with regards to what kind of data management we want to do. Do we want to create a record, edit, clone, mass create, mass edit, mass update, mass delete? There's all these different things that we can do. And so this allows us to choose exactly what we want to do. And of course, I've tried to provide as much information about what the difference, for example, is between mass edit and mass update. They sound very similar. Okay, mass edit is for inline editing. Okay, so all it's going to do is it's going to just take the list view that exists and it's going to just set everything to be editable inside inline for the list view. And then the mass update is an action where you can specifically set fields that you want to mass update on your entire set of data that you have selected. Okay, it's more of a hammer to allow you to do things quickly, change statuses for a whole set of records. So if we select one of these, let's go with mass update as an example. We need to enter our information here. So let's do account mass update, as we'll make this specific for the account. We'll make it available immediately. Now, when we get to the enhanced action details here, you can see that a whole bunch of extra information is now displayed that we need to provide values for. Okay, in this particular case, at least one row needs to be provided. Okay, but when we do provide a row, we need to provide all the records, all the fields that are required. Okay, so in this particular example, let's just set the field label to account name, which makes no sense because that would suggest that we're changing the name on all the accounts that we select. But we'll just do this as an example. The field type is going to be a string in this particular case. And the display order, there are many cases where we need to set parameters, but we don't want them displayed because they're back-end parameters. So in that particular case, we would set it to -1. Okay, but other than that, our parameters are displayed based on number from low to high. So let's start off with 1 here, which means the account name is going to be the first thing to be displayed. And we don't want a default value for the account name. Let's set something else here, annual revenue. Actually, that's the label. So let's just go with revenue there. API name can be annual revenue. Let's say that this is decimal, and we'll make this one number 2. Okay, so those two fields are in, look pretty good. We click next. We set our accessibility. Is this specific to an action? Yes, it is. And then it's going to ask us, so we can enter in account. Is it specific to a Lightning component? No. If it was specific to a Lightning component, what we would need to do here is to enter in the component API name. So when you create the Lightning page, you need to know the component name or set it specifically so that this particular action will be available on that component. This allows this action to be very specific to a specific component. Okay, but in this case, we're going to say no. we will make sure that at least one or more records needs to be selected again. And let's say that we need to be able to edit these records. Okay, so we click next, everything looks good, let's click save, and the action is successfully created. So now if we go back and we just take a look at this again, there is the account mass update. All the information has been entered. And if we go to the related fields, related parameters, we'll see the information set up there. So now, if we go back, now of course, actions are not dynamically updated on the page, so we just need to refresh the page. But once that page has been refreshed, now it's going to go to the contacts page, or contacts list view. And so as an example, if we were to go here, we will not see the action, okay? It does not exist here, okay? What we've got to do is we have to go to the accounts, which is where we said we wanted the list view to be available, or sorry, the action to be available. So, again, it should not be available. It is showing available. Okay. There it is, mass create accounts. Mass, what did we? Account mass update, there it is. So if I take this out and I do select an action, you won't see it here. I've got already some created here, so that was confusing for me. We called the action. If we go back to the action itself, no, I don't know where the action is. Here it is, account mass update. Okay, so we have to select an account here, and then we'll see it. There is account mass update. And if we select that value, the action, then the information gets displayed as we have requested. Now, in this particular case, the information is placed into the values because we've only selected one record. Okay, if we select more than one record and select action, okay, the values are empty and we can set them to what we want. So that's standard functionality as it existed before. Okay, so that's a good overview of the action, the create action wizard. Pretty much any action that we are able to create on the back end, we are also able to create on the front end. Okay, using this wizard. So, you know, by selecting what kind of action you want, you know, here are all the different types. There is nothing right now that we can create outside of this wizard that we can't create in the wizard. Okay, and then of course, don't forget that if you do select manage data, that there's going to be another subtype that we're going to have to select from. So there we go. That is the create action wizard. Hopefully that makes it useful for a lot of people.